get started with the RDA meeting. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. We're going to go ahead and entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes for April 16th.
I make a motion to approve the minutes for April 16th, 2024.
Okay, Pam, and a second, please.
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Adam. Brooke?
I can't see, is Ms.
Oh.
Turner, okay, Mr. Hawk,
Aye.
Mr. Pickett,
Aye.
Ms. Cotter,
Aye.
Ms. Dominguez.
Aye. All right. We'll go ahead and that is passed, so we'll go ahead and move on. Ms. Turner has returned to the dais. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to item number 2 for citizen comments. You're welcome to come up to the podium and give your information, fill out a comment form with Patty in the back over there, and you have 3 minutes. Do we have any citizen comments on it? Okay, go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, we received an email yesterday. I apologize, I don't have the exact time. From Margaret Paul, Vice President of Historic Murray First Foundation. She says, "Good evening. I am writing to encourage you to prioritize improvements along the 4800 South frontage vacant property for your first phase. Historic Murray First Foundation is seeking a developer who wants to and can afford to restore the historic buildings along State Street. Construction along the 4800 South frontage will draw attention and new businesses to our downtown and allow for incremental absorption. As you are well aware, there are so many units nearby already approved but not occupied. I hope you take this suggestion seriously and proceed without controversy first. Thank you for your consideration, Margaret Paul."
Perfect. Zach, can you also email that to the RDA board? Thank you. All right, anyone else? Okay, seeing that nobody else has a citizen comment, we'll go ahead and move on. I'll close the citizen comment. We'll move on to item number 3, discussion items and review of Central Business District Site Project Area, discussion on history, potential projects, and priorities for the project area.
And your eyes are not deceiving you. You don't have an old Elvon in front of you.
Didn't we have this discussion earlier
Yeah,
today?
Yes, he is currently on his way, hopefully not here anymore. He just flew into the airport
I
just a
couldn't
few
tell the
minutes ago.
difference.
He's not gonna make it. We've told him to just go home instead of trying to make it here. He'll barely make any of the meetings. So I would love to give you a bit of a recap first on the Central Business District and the urban renewal area, just a summary of the history of it, just briefly. The project was established in 1979. 1983, the tax increment was triggered and set to go for 32 years. That would have been 2014. In 1999, an amendment to the project and area plans was approved. And 2011, an amendment to extend the tax collection period by 20 years and to expand the collection area to include additional acreage was also approved. In 2016, amendment of the collection area to include additional acreage or enlargement was also updated. And in 2034, the tax increment collection period will expire. So we have 10 years, a little less than 10 years, in order to use this tax increment. When the district was formed, I don't really want to go through every one of these objectives. You have them in your minutes. But as you can see, the highlight would be that it is, the overall improvement of the district. We've been trying to do something with this district since 1979, as we stated. And frankly, there have been some hits and misses, but it's not been a concerted, organized, well thought out effort, in my opinion. Some of the highlights, the key things that they wanted to do allow for mixed-use development containing commercial, residential, retail, civic, and office uses. Provide public or private recreation areas or other public grounds. State Street should be enhanced and existing uses should be cleaned up and beautified. State Street north of 4800 South should be redeveloped as part of the historic downtown mixed-use neighborhood. Also provide diverse housing choices for a variety of needs and income levels. Provide funds for parking structures, funds for new moderate and low-income housing, funds to encourage development of vacant and underused parcels, funds for higher density mixed-use development to encourage a higher volume of extended hour human activity resulting in safer neighborhoods and communities, and to increase the connectivity, walkability, and access within the area by providing funds for sidewalks, walking bridge facilities, and connector roads. So you can see these are all things we've talked about. And frankly, we really believe it's time we need to start acting on these instead of continuing to talk about it. We've got 10 years, and that seems like a very long time, but it really isn't when you're dealing with development and redevelopment and the process that you're going to have to go through with public hearings, with development agreements, and so forth. It's a huge job, and there's no time like the present to start this effort. Now, Elvon also put together a proposed project list based on discussion we had at the RDA Planning Commission, at the RDA Planning meeting. And so these are the things that were brought up and emphasized the most. To enter into a master development agreement with a developer to purchase and redevelop Block 1, to develop public space and amenities around Murray Mansion, the 4800 South pedestrian and road improvements, repair damaged gutter and sidewalks, and new asphalt. And a lot of those are currently in the early stages of being taken care of. We are talking to developers. Hopefully by the end of the year, with your approval, we'll have a master development agreement with a preferred developer. That's to be seen, but it is moving forward. We are going to be asking for funds in the future to develop the public space and amenities around the mansion. That's the historic plaza that we've been talking about. We've got some very exciting news to share with you on that in the future. We have final renderings that have been provided to us, and the cost proposals are just being developed now. We will have a minimal cost to start the development. We'll have a mid-range cost to partially complete it, and we'll have a full completion cost of the plaza so that you'll be able to make those decisions and implement that portion. The widening of 4800 South and signal improvements. Now, a lot of these that I'm going to be talking about next are public works projects. Yes, Diane?
I was just wondering, do you have any idea when we'll receive that information?
On the plaza, the historic plaza, at our next meeting.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yes, we're in the very final stages of the design contract that she is developing this concept.
Awesome.
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
And they've done a great job with audio, or with visuals. We have flyovers of taking you through the plaza, aerial views. It's beautiful. It's, I think you'll really like it. You'll have a chance to tweak anything that you folks would like to see or not see or anything as well.
Great. Thank you. It's been a long time coming.
Yes, we're excited. As far as public works projects, in consultation with Public Works, we have asked them what their priorities would be in face of the redevelopment of this general area right here. And that includes the widening of 4800 South and signal improvements at State Street, the development of structured parking. That's not really a Public Works project. That's one that I think we all need. We've talked about that, the need for parking structures. That will come as development plans are fleshed out. But utility connections from Hanover Street to Block 1 need to be enhanced. Utility projects for the old City Hall site need to be taken care of. We need to relocate sewer by the indoor soccer facility, have improved or expanded trail infrastructure to improve walkability throughout the area. That's a key that has always been, a key theme that has always been present. Running power lines underground on Box Elder Street, Fifth Avenue, and Fourth Avenue. The Power Department has expressed interest in doing that. They can do a lot of that work themselves, and it would greatly enhance the area to put those power lines underground. Also, the widening of Fifth Avenue between Poplar and State Street. And that would really come into play to improve access into this immediate area and also to the historic district. Improved street lighting on State Street, probably going to LED lights. And, there's a possibility of, I know we have some historic lights, more historic looking lights around this facility, and that perhaps that can be expanded to a wider area to give a common feel for the area. Also, improved bicycle infrastructure in the project area. That has to happen as well. And we need to program our public spaces. So that includes the plaza out here at City Hall. That will include any historic plaza activity that we have when that is built over by the mansion. And there'll be other opportunities as well throughout this area. We envision this as a walkable downtown and experience. And so there will be a lot of opportunities to do things like that. And also to implement infrastructure improvements recommended by the 2024 Downtown Strategic Plan. And as you reviewed that a couple of weeks ago, I'm sure you noticed there were very specific recommendations, many of them similar to these with the walkability, the bicycle infrastructure, State Street, all of that. So what I'm here before you tonight to hear is, what do you think are the most important? We need to try and focus our efforts on, I would say, 5 or 6 of these immediately. The others will always be a point of focus, but I want to know how you folks feel about what you think is the most important.
So can you walk me through some of the public works projects and how big of an issue they are? For example, the relocating the sewer by the indoor soccer facility. Is this we've got to do it, or?
I believe it runs under the building.
Okay.
Yeah. For that to be redeveloped, that would have to be moved outside the footprint of the building. Yeah.
Okay.
But that particular site is very problematic. There's a high level of contamination on that site. We've been told that it's basically built on slag and just overburden from the smelter over the years, and the contamination goes as deep as 20 feet over there. So that building would have to be removed. The site would have to be excavated down to, at least 20 feet and have all of that material removed and then backfilled. And so there would be an opportunity to do the sewer at that time when all of that remediation was taking place. But that's a very large ticket item.
I think a parking structure is very important.
Right.
We don't have parking in the downtown. If we expect
Correct.
people to come and appreciate all that we're planning on doing, we need to have a place for them to park.
Exactly. We're going to have a parking structure at the old City Hall site. That's incorporated into their design, but that services only that area.
Right.
So as we have more development around Block 1 and in this Box Elder area, we'll be able to identify the optimal place to have those parking structures. And, there are different kinds of parking structures. You may have a public-private partnership, where some of it is always open for public use, and other floors or whatever may be reserved for residential or something like that, or business. It just depends. As the development takes place, we'll be able to identify those things, but it is a high priority, absolutely.
Good. We've been also kicking that around for
Yes.
10 years,
Yes.
12 years.
Yes.
Because we do need parking.
I would also advocate for improving the trail infrastructure. Like, I know the Parks master plan calls for us to improve the Conway Cottonwood Creek
Uh-huh.
trail right there. So if we could use funds to improve that, I think it would be used
Exactly.
by our citizens.
There's a good opportunity in here to work toward that with bicycle, dedicated bicycle areas, lanes, walkability. Yeah, it really lends itself. And with the redevelopment, that's the great opportunity we have with redeveloping, is that we can create space for those things in the redevelopment. We're not going in after the fact and saying, gee, it would have been nice to have a trail right here. I wish that wall wasn't there. Why did we put that building there? We have to think of those things during this process.
Right, and with that goes open space.
Yes.
So that's also.
Yes, absolutely. Connect all of those.
So one of the things is leveraging the funding, right? We can use grants for the Brownsville's grants to help with cleanup and mitigation, or are we limited on that?
Well, the Brownsville grant that we just received, I need to dive a little bit deeper into that, but I believe that is strictly for study and analysis of properties within this area, okay?
Right.
They mentioned a couple of specific properties, and I don't know if we can also use that in a broader area where we can look to see how prevalent the contamination is in other areas as well. And we can do phased studies, like a phase 2 study, just to understand what it will specifically entail in order to clean up those projects. We don't have enough money in that Brownsville
Right.
grant to clean up these properties.
Well, and we don't have enough money even to do it ourselves.
Correct.
So I want to make that a priority to figure out how and who would come into this area and how we can support them, or because we're going to have to support whatever business comes in.
Right, before any
That's
redevelopment can happen, it has to be safe, and it
Yeah.
has to be certified, and so that will have to happen in these
So that's
areas.
one of my priorities. The other one is allocating funds for facades or improvements of buildings, or even a historical homes. Of course, at the owner's discretion, but allocating some of those funds and also creating and maybe expanding the partnership even with NeighborWorks to help with some of that for those historical areas, and making them, the historical areas and neighborhoods, a little bit more cohesive, whether it's through streetlights, whether it's other, I know we already have the signage already in those areas, in those neighborhoods, but maybe just a little bit more of an improvement between the walkability, even down 4800 South and through Atwood. And
We did make a priority with NeighborWorks this spring in
Okay.
telling them that we wanted a higher focus on the housing rehabilitation,
Good.
rather than just the down payment assistance or, basically the down payment assistance programs that we had. We said, we want you to earmark a good amount of money for the home improvement. They isolated $40,000 for that. We've had a meeting at the Senior Citizen Center that was attended by about 8 seniors there
oh, good.
that were looking into applying for the loans. In fact, it's not really a loan, it's a grant
Yeah.
that will improve their homes. And they had the program explained to them. So that will be a focus going forward. This neighborhood to the north of us here, there's a lot of opportunity to improve those
Yeah.
houses
Yeah.
and sidewalks, everything in that area, make it
Yeah.
a much more livable area.
Yeah. I mean, for me, that would be a priority as much as, I think the infrastructure too, I know we have some allocation of funding for that, and that's been slated. So I want to
Yeah,
make
we
sure.
have safer
yeah.
sidewalk money and
Yeah.
things like that. That's the engineering department administers.
So I think my next question would be is, where are we leveraging the money? How much money can we use? What can we do, right, as a city to be able to provide these services, whether it's a parking lot, whether it's improving?
And we'll have to look
Yeah.
into that.
Okay.
I have to be honest with you, I'm not familiar with, bundling grants and doing all of that. So that's something that we can look into. But the
Yeah.
thing to be aware of is anytime you're using federal dollars, there are a lot of strings involved. There's
Right.
a lot of accounting procedures. It's not, they don't just hand you the money.
Right, and I guess, and I understand the hesitation from administration, but I think for me, we're going to look down the line and we're asking citizens for their tax money. And if we're not leveraging those dollars, why are we asking more money from our citizens? I mean, I think we really need to realistically start stepping into some of those federal grants and some of those federal dollars to be able to do some of these things. And I guess that's where I'm seeing it. I mean, we can't ask citizens to raise their taxes because we want to make sure we're getting all the things that we need if we're not leveraging some of those grants.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
The mayor's office typically coordinates any
Yeah.
grant activity in that, and so I'm sure we will be having those discussions.
Perfect, thank you.
Phil,
Yeah.
how much was the Brownfield grant?
We were awarded $500,000.
500,000.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes, that is nice.
Phil, I just, on behalf of my constituents, most of these projects are in my district. And we're grateful to see the ball rolling and moving and are excited of what's coming down. Regarding federal funds, state, county, I hope we can find a fine balance where we can retain autonomy
I agree.
and do what we can and not be tied into too much of these strings that come with some of these projects. There's a fine balance somewhere where we take the funds and use them and where we take too much and now we're tied
Right.
in what we do.
As I said, the mayor's office, there's a reason they coordinate these activities and that and give approval to pursue certain grants and so forth. Because, yeah, it's a complicated web that you really have to make sure you're aware of everything. But there are some great opportunities out there. We have to find them and we have to make sure they're a good fit for Murray City.
I'm wondering if it would be helpful if, given this list of options, if maybe we took the time, not right now, but at another meeting or independently, and did our priority list.
I think that would be a great idea. I would love to see that from each of you. If you could rank 1 through 5, and, we'll end up with more than 5, which is great. But that will give us an idea of where we need to focus and also the other departments too, that we need to start emphasizing that there's support for this.
Right.
We need to start doing some engineering analysis and looking at what it would take, some cost analysis in that. And yeah, keep the ball rolling basically. So I would love that. If you could do that, just give them to Jennifer and she'll forward those on to us and that would be outstanding. Okay.
We would then have some specific information that we could
I would love that.
provide. So, and I think that's what you're looking for.
Yes, it really is, yeah. We want to make sure that we're focusing on what you folks find important. That's why we're asking. So we're trying to give you enough background information on what has been done to date and our discussions with other departments, what their priorities would be, what their willingness would be, what's possible from their budgets and their manpower standpoints. And that's what you have in front of you right now.
Right. Could you also provide funding? I mean, how much it would cost for each of these things?
Once we get the list, we can look at
Okay.
that and try to do that. I don't know for sure. Like parking structures, I couldn't give you a
I
number.
know, that's very.
Too many variables involved there.
Right, right. But if we had some idea of the cost.
But sure,
then
yeah, for the infrastructure
Yeah.
projects and that
That's
shouldn't
gonna
be
impact,
difficult to
right.
come up with.
Yeah.
Okay.
We could do in lieu of parking. I'm just saying, throwing that out there again.
Sure.
I, just real quick, I also want to just mention, because I can't hold my tongue. This is probably the most, I know that the RDA is focused on the CBD a lot in the past few years, but this is going to be, I think, this is going to be CBD's year. We're moving rapidly on the form-based code stuff. We already have a kickoff meeting scheduled next week. And, you're going to see them at Committee of the Whole in 2 weeks. So it's going to be going. So this is going to be ever present, I think, in your mind for the next 6 months as we move forward. So buckle up.
It's
We're gonna
like a
have
whole
fun.
new world.
It's a whole
yeah.
new world.
It truly is,
Yeah.
because we've
a lot
always
on
just
our
been
plates.
poking along. and, you
Yeah,
know.
no more poking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and one of the requests that I had with doing this is to make sure we hit up all the RDA areas so we can prioritize. And that's what we kind of
And
came to
that's
the
what we were-
conclusion, yeah.
Today is Central
CBD,
Business
yeah.
District. Next month will be another, one of the RDA districts. Fire Clay will
Yeah.
be next month. That will be a very interesting discussion.
Yeah.
There's a lot of activity going on in Fire Clay, and we're beginning to focus more over
So would
there as
you-
well.
Sorry to.
No, you're
Would you
fine.
say like in the next week that we kind of email Jennifer and give those priorities?
Yes, that
That
would
will
be
be
best if
helpful.
you could. Give us
Okay.
enough time to really look at these and report back to you.
Great.
Councilmember Dominguez, may I
Yes.
make a comment on
Yes.
behalf of Mayor Hills?
Yeah, please.
So Mayor Hills asked, and I have had several conversations about these priorities with the staff over the last several months. And I know that it's Mayor Hill's priority, number one priority is to develop, and develop is a broad term. I'm not saying how to develop, but that we need to do something with Block 1. All these other a lot of these other issues that are on this list will be solved through some type of development. A lot of the utility, the infrastructure, the road widenings, all of these other issues, even a parking structure will be resolved through some type of development agreement. And we know in meeting with developers over the last several months that it's going to require substantial funds from the RDA to make this development successful. Nobody, no developer that we have talked to will do a low-density, low-height development as described in the recently adopted plan without financial assistance from the RDA. It's going to require donation of land, potentially tax increment financing. And so if you put that in a perspective and you start figuring where do you want to put the money, if you start doing all these smaller type projects, and I'm not saying they're not worthy projects, you're going to be taking away from the ability for the city to attract a developer to come into this project. And so I know that Mayor Hills, if he were to tell you to focus on one thing right now, the number one priority is to get a developer. And a developer, Block 1 will also, we can cohesively do this historic park at the same time, right? Because they have to work together because they're all on the same block. So I just want to mention that. I think that's what Mayor Hills would tell you if he were here, is that let's not start dedicating funding away from what the ultimate purpose of this is, and that's which is really the ultimate purpose of the RDA, which is to make Block 1 attractive in our community. Right now, regardless of whether you save the building or you tear them down and build new buildings, we all know that this is almost becoming a blighted area of our city. Block 1 is. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
So, hold on, Doug. So the only way to, if we want to save funds, then is to go high density. If we didn't want to, is that what you're saying?
Well, that's what we are hearing from developers.
developers.
If we're not going to, if you allow them to do a project that the market is going to dictate, it's going to require greater height, greater density, probably more residential than any other type of use on that property. And that's what the type of developer you will attract. If you want a development like Holiday City, which we often hear about all the time, which has very little residential, has lower height, lower density, structured parking, restaurants, office, smaller office, that type of development, then yes, it's going to require the RDA to have to give up something. And right now, the RDA has something to give up, right? We own the land. We, as Zach mentioned, we have the ability to start generating revenue over the next 10 years. So if tax increment financing is going to be part of that equation, then we have 10 years to do that. But the longer we wait, the more we do these ancillary type projects that don't contribute toward development, that ability for us to give something in the form of tax increments going to go away.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? No?
We can quickly move to
Oh,
number 4,
Diane?
if that's okay.
Sorry.
So I'm kind of confused. Do you still want us to do the priority list?
Sure, I'd still like to see your priority list. I mean, there's no commitment, you know, I don't think it hurts. That will also help as, I believe, discussions move forward with a developer to show what the council thinks is important and what they're going to have to consider in any type of development or redevelopment.
Yeah, I think we have a good pulse of what our constituents would want, and in those conversations,
It
I think
never
it's,
hurts, it never
yeah,
hurts to talk about stuff
Yeah.
and to bring it to the front. There's no guarantee.
I also think looking at some of these things, like when Phil was talking about the trail system, if we know
Yeah.
it's a priority for us in the future, when a developer's building something, we know it's a priority and we can navigate a developer of 5 years from now, we want to add this, so don't do X because of that.
You planned for it.
yeah,
So one of the things that, as Doug here was mentioning, this is, block 1 is our focus this year, right? But that's 4 acres of over 100 acres of the downtown, right? So that's the focus this year, right? But as the old City Hall property moves forward, as Brenda often likes to say, this RDA area is land rich and cash poor. And we'll get an influx of cash with the sale of City Hall. And that's where you can start to look at the broader, the broader downtown CBD area. But definitely, so that's where this priority list will help us as staff to kind of prioritize things into the future. So this is more forward thinking, more planning in the future for, the sale of City Hall and things like that. Where right now we're focused on block 1 and getting that done. So
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense.
does that make sense?
Just quickly move to number 4, if that's okay, project updates.
Yeah, go ahead,
Okay.
please.
Just a couple of things. I hope you've all had a chance to take a look at the Townsend House. If not, do so on your way out. The crews have been very busy working over there, repairing the decorative shingles on the facade. It's got a brand-new porch
Looks
and
great.
railing. Everything's up to code. Looks beautiful. The next step is for painting the exterior of the house, the wood. We'll keep the same colors that were there last time, the dark green and then the cream color for the other parts of the wood. They've got a lot of scraping and just general work to do, but I'm very pleased with how that's moving forward. We did find one somewhat unexpected condition. The roof over the porch does have some holes in it, and we can see where water has leaked down through the roof structure just over the porch. And I'll be talking to Brenda to see if, once I get an estimate for just repairing the porch roof, see if we can do that quickly. But the rest of the roof on it, although it may not look great, there are no leaks that we're aware of, and so we're just going to move forward away from that. We also had, thanks to the Parks Department, I asked them to see what they could do with the smaller Cahoon house that's right next to T. Rose. They went over there and trimmed the bushes. And after they trimmed the bushes looked worse than they did before. And that was hard to imagine. So they took the initiative to just start clearing things out. And there's been a dramatic transformation of that home. You need to look at that, just look all the way around it. There's a sidewalk on the west side of T. Rose that no one knew was there. It was so overgrown. Bushes in back have been removed. They've just done a tremendous job. So in the future, hopefully in the near future, we can get some funds to just spruce it up a little bit, paint it, just make it a little more presentable or that. Not a full-blown restoration or anything like that. But it's a cute structure, it's a historic structure, and we'd like to enhance that a little bit. So you'll be hearing more about that in the future. Okay. And also, just one other thing about NeighborWorks, they have depleted their supply of down payment assistance funds for this current year, the latest allocation. They do not have any more funds available right now for down payment assistance. They do have that money set aside for the home improvement program, but they will be offering more as they get additional funding in the future of that. We did have one potential buyer call us and was pleading with us to come up with more money, and we just said, that's all we can do. We've given an awful lot to that program this year, and so there will be more in the future. But right now, it's encouraging that it's being used. Citizens are really taking advantage of it. Most of them are condominiums, older condominiums, or older homes or that. But still, that's what the program is about, is getting people in their own place.
It's amazing.
Any questions? All right.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We are adjourned until 6:30, 6:35. Oh, no, we come back at, wait, what time? 6:30. Yeah, you're right. Thank you.